Hey YouTube, today's video I'll show you a bit of slope soaring that I did close to the airfield after a 4.5 hour flight, but I wasn't ready to land yet. Now I know this area quite well since it is close to the airfield, and the sun and the wind were perfect on this slope, and this mountain is called the Schilt. And I had an inkling that there might be a way to climb up. So I arrived at 1900 meters, and in about 15 minutes I found myself 450 meters higher. Now let me take you through my thought process while I do this. Now of course the utmost important thing is that you keep your distance from terrain, so you keep yourself safe at all times. And then the next objective is to find out where is the maximum amount of lift. Now the lift in these conditions is going to be so close to the terrain that you cannot fly circles, so you have to fly eights. So in the track at the beginning of the video you see the amount of eights that I have to fly. Now in order to keep things interesting, I speed up the video about 5-fold, and you see that I am slowly getting higher. In the beginning it's of course slow, but then as time goes by and your altitude gets higher, the thermal actually gets stronger, which is rewarding and will give you the motivation to keep going. With slope soaring you have to watch out for the wind, as the wind may actually move you closer to the mountain, and the advantage of flying the eights is that you then you can extend the eight a little bit away from the mountain to avoid that you get too close. Now at some point in time you get high enough to actually start flying circles, and you see that happening here. And at the moment you get almost over the terrain, or the beginning of terrain, you also notice that the thermals are no longer at exactly the same location. So you have to adjust where you fly based on where you are relative to the mountain and the height of terrain. When you watch me in the cockpit, you notice that I am glancing outside 98% of the time. I only occasionally glance at the speedometer to make sure that I have a significant speed, certainly enough to be able to maneuver the glider close to terrain. And the speed is of course adapted to the situation of the wind. In this case the wind was very light, so there was no turbulence given the wind, just the turbulence from the thermal itself. So this was not a too challenging situation, but of course you have to be extremely concentrated at what you're doing here. You cannot, think about anything else for even a split second. So notice that I am not worrying about the camera. In fact, I was not at that moment realizing that the camera was running. After the flight I noticed it had recorded everything, and I decided to make this short video about this. Now after I climbed to the terrain level, I flew over terrain and decided that the flight had been going on long enough and this would have been my last thermal, and decided to take a nice long flight home and go for a landing. I did manage to fly by exactly the point where I turned off the engine, which allowed me to close the triangle for the online contest, and that all made it into a very nice rounded flight. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to see you next time.